Sony dropped an unexpected state of play earlier this week, a jam-packed presentation with over 30 minutes full of new titles and DLCs. This was a needed jolt in the arm for Sony after the lackluster presentation of the PlayStation 5 Pro had a lot of people kind of scratching their heads thinking, what was this for? And while the presentation itself isn't going to change anyone's mind who hasn't already been made up in terms of them getting the PlayStation 5 Pro, this in conjunction with the 30th anniversary release of new products celebrating the PlayStation 1 has kind of given people a little bit, has taken, I should say, the edge off of people for just a moment. So, in a presentation of over half an hour, you would think it'd be a little bit hard to choose 5 things. Unfortunately, it was kind of easy, as the presentation itself kind of was a reminder to people that yes, the PlayStation VR 2 is still a thing, as there were many VR titles presented for it. But there was one amazing announcement at the end that really did showcase the power of the PlayStation 5. So what are these games? What are the top 5? Well, tune in and let's find out. I'm going to start us off at number 5 with all the DLCs that were announced. Now then, DLC is always a bit of an excitement for titles that have been out for a while, and while myself personally I'm not a fan of announcing DLC for games that aren't even out, looking at the Sonic one, the voice pack of Keanu Reeves with the movie 3 Shadow, I think I'll give it a pass because it is a great way to tie in the movie for some promotional material, but the Ninja Turtles DLC with both Mondo Gecko and I forgot the female character's name, but those are really good picks out there. The Alan Wake DLC announcement, among others, and the Astrobot DLC showcasing some more of the Sony titles, including Stellar Blade, alongside the Stellar Blade and Nier Automata DLC. So some really solid DLC choices on the horizon for Sony. Alright, coming in at number 4, this is more of a pick for me, just because I am excited. I love the work that Hironobu Sakaguchi has done, and that is getting the official release date for Fantasian Neo Dimension. That game finally managed to get itself out of iPhone hell and into actual consoles, so the December 5th launch for the game warms my heart, and I'm very much looking forward to it. At number 3 is another JRPG announcement, but that is the Lunar Remasters collection. Lunars are games that I would borrow from some friends, and I wouldn't be able to beat just because I wasn't very smart back then as a kid, but seeing these games kind of come out, because if you've ever looked at the secondary market for the Lunar titles, the titles could get a little bit expensive, so having the titles come out and be at a much more manageable price with some beautiful graphic updates, definitely a win in my book. Coming in at number 2 is something that, I get it's going to be big, and I'm very much excited for it. I've already got my buddy lined up. We're already discussing how he's going to buff me with his hunting horns and how I'm just going to act like a Beyblade with dual blades, but it's Monster Hunter Wilds. I was hooked from the get-go when I saw the announcement trailer, and honestly, the story beats, it looked fine, but the more monsters that they keep announcing, the more excited I get for it. There could be a point where showcasing the game too much may just start to wear on people a little bit, just like how we were constantly seeing stuff for Deathloop or Concord, or just seeing these games at every presentation. Makes it hard for the people who are already excited to kind of keep up that enthusiasm, because it can get to a point where it's like, yeah, we know this is coming out. But if they keep making the trailers as baller as this one, especially with some of the monsters that they showcase, I'm all for it. But easily number 1, by a country mile, and I think is the game that really saved the showcase for a lot of people, is the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, Ghost of Yotei. Now, a lot of people were maybe expecting that we might see the continuation of Jin's story, but this game takes place a couple hundred years after Jin's time, and it looks like it's taking place in the northern province in Hokkaido of Japan. Now, I am someone who absolutely enjoyed the last game, Ghost of Tsushima. It was one of those titles where going in, I didn't really know what I was expecting. I didn't know if I was going to get something more akin to Sekiro. I don't know. I didn't know if I was going to get something more akin to Assassin's Creed. But what ended up being, or what, I gotta rephrase it. What I thought was going to be just like your standard PlayStation Epic game experience actually ended up being a really fantastic game with very, very great story elements put in there. Now, I'm someone who played the game in the Kurosawa mode because I love the works of Akira Kurosawa, and so just playing the game in black and white mode actually did give it a little bit more of a cooler cinematic feel. And I really ended up enjoying it. I thought the swordplay, the gameplay was great. Visually, it was great. Voice acting was great. Like, and a fantastic story. And I honestly thought Jin's story was properly ended in the base game. Now, I'm someone who hadn't played the DLC yet. Something that I may get to eventually, or maybe before this game comes out. So I can't speak on how much the DLC added to Jin's story, or if it was just kind of essentially an OVA. But I thought Jin's story ending was pretty good, and so having a new character in a new setting, I think is great. Personally, I can't wait to see what her story is going to be like, and you know what other crazy stuff they can do. I believe this is set in like the 1600s, so we'll be seeing the early era of the Tokugawa shogunate, so it should be a good time. So yeah, that is kind of our brief recap of the Sony State of Play presentation. Again, for myself, one really great game at the end, showing what the power of the PlayStation 5 can be, getting me excited. Another game added to the list of Sony titles that are currently just on PlayStation 5. But overall, kind of average presentation. The issue is we have so many titles that we've known about and, you know, we're excited for, but still a little bit kind of lacking on the surprise factor. But at the same time, it's probably a good thing that they're kind of slowing down in terms of like the number of games they're showing that are like a good number of years away. So for that, I gotta give them props. But yeah, overall, I would say a C presentation with an A+ game shown at the end. Anyway, this has been, yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the Sony State of Play down below. What games are you excited? What are you looking forward to? Did this State of Play convince you to finally hop on the PlayStation 5 wagon? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to do all the fancy like, sub, ring that bell. This has been Miguel for Anime Secrets, and I'll catch you guys later.